Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing another Canadian Soldier Reacts video, and we are going to be looking at the SASR. So this would be the Australian Special Air Service Regiment. So I'm kind of excited for this.
The Australian Special Air Service Regiment.
Okay, so in my grand tradition of stopping this thing a whole heck of a lot of times, I noticed a couple things right up front. So first of all, they're using what looks to be, I'm going to say a C8 style carbine short-barreled 5.56 weapons, and it's a blank fire exercise because that's his BFA right there. Other than that, I like the kit. I never did get the NVGs that we had actually had like a harness that went over our helmet. Again, 25 years old. So, and having your comms right on your helmet too, that's pretty cool.
SASR, commonly referred to as the SAS, is an elite special forces unit within the nation's army. Established in 1957, this distinguished regiment drew inspiration from the UK's SAS and adopted the renowned motto, "Who dares wins."
So, I didn't know if Australia was had adopted that motto. I knew British SAS they had the "Who dares wins" motto. Our motto in the Canadian Special Service Forces was OSANS. Translates to "We Dare." So their motto is "Who dares wins." "Who dares wins." Our motto is "We Dare." We made a lot of that over the years.
Based in Swanban, a suburb of Perth in Western Australia, the SASR calls Campbell Barracks its home and operates under the direct authority of the Special Operations Command. With a storied history, the SASR has participated in missions across Borneo, Vietnam, Somalia, East Timor, Iraq, and Afghanistan, in addition to numerous peacekeeping efforts.
So yeah, 1RCR, similar thing. A lot of what they just said there, actually, including Afghanistan, Korea, numerous peacekeeping missions. I've been on 3 myself. But I've never run across the Australian military. I've worked with the Australian Civilian Police before. The Australian Civilian Police, man, they were fun. So I was stationed in Cyprus on peacekeeping duty in 1989, and there was this big protest, and there were a bunch of people from Turkey, from the Turkish side of Cyprus, trying to get over to the Greek side of Cyprus. And we had been told, and we could see them, there was a battalion of Turkish troops on the other side, and they said point blank, if anyone comes over to this side of the line, we're going to kill them. So we were standing in between the two groups trying to stop these idiots from getting killed. Well, one guy took off, well, I mean, a lot of people did, but one guy took off a runner, and me and this Aussie Civil Police started chasing him. This guy hops a fence and starts booting it out into a field. He gets about 30 meters out into the field before he realizes we're not chasing him anymore. He turns around, looks at us. We're standing at that fence that he hopped, and the Aussie Civil Police just flips the sign over. It's a mine sign. The guy ran out into the middle of a minefield. We were not chasing him. So he immediately retraces his footsteps back to us. We take him into custody, and we march him back out to the vehicles. So this Aussie Civil Police is trying to throw this guy into the back of the vehicle. It was an SUV with a hatchback kind of a thing. He was going to put him in the back there. The guy starts fighting him. So this cop, the Aussie cop, takes the guy by the back of the head and smashes his face into the back of the truck. He turns to me and he says, "Give him 1 or 2 love taps," and they smarten right up. I love Aussie Civil Police.
As part of their wide-ranging responsibilities, the SASR also serves as a counterterrorism force. playing a crucial role in domestic security operations.
Yeah, that is something that we really didn't do much of, counterterrorism. That's more left to the JTF2 when I was in, and now the SASR, I believe, in Canada.
Throughout Australia. The Australian SASR has a rich history, with its roots in the experiences of World War II units such as C Special Unit, M Special Unit, the Independent Companies, and the Coast Watchers, which fought against Japanese forces in the Southwest Pacific area. After the war, these units were disbanded during the Australian military's demobilization process.
That's dumb.
However, after witnessing the British Special Air Services operations in the Malayan Emergency in the 1950s, the Australian Army decided to form its own SAS unit.
Now that's interesting. So that is their patch, I'm assuming. So if you take a look at that, that was my patch. Really similar. And that's the coin that we had. And you notice Osans is translated to We Dare. And then those were the different, not unit designations, but formation designations. So that's Mobile Command, so Canadian Mobile Command from CFB Petawawa. And then in Europe, we were part of Ace Mobile Force, which was the quick reaction force. Which is why we were always on 48 hours notice to move anywhere in Europe. So that's cool.
Thus, the first Special Air Service Company was established on July 25, 1957, in Swanvin, a suburb of Perth, Western Australia, with 16 officers and 144 other ranks.
144. So that's a company, or a company heavy. That's not a lot, actually.
In 1960, the company joined the Royal Australian Regiment, RAR, taking on the responsibility for Commando and Special Forces operations. Under the Australian Army's Pantropic Organization at the time, the regiment...
So that sounds more like our commando units, who eventually became our jump companies.
Its primary wartime role was divisional level reconnaissance.
Okay, divisional level reconnaissance. So that stands to reason then.
The SAS achieved regimental status on August 20th, 1964, and expanded to 2 Sabre squadrons and a headquarters, breaking away from the RAR. The formation of a 3rd squadron was approved on April 30th, 1965, as part of the Australian Army's overall expansion.
What's a Sabre squadron? I'm going to guess, and I'm guessing here, I'm guessing a Sabre squadron is like a rifle company. And 3 rifle companies plus combat support, non-combat support, and headquarters makes up a battalion.
In October 2001,
So in 2001-2002, 1RCR was also in Afghanistan. If anyone from 1RCR is watching this, please leave a comment down below and let me know, because obviously I was out by this point, but I know, in fact, I know one of my old warrants, Ambrose, was there, because I saw him on a video back in the early 2000s. They saw some heavy fighting. 1RCR saw some heavy fighting in Afghanistan in the early 2000s. Just looking at this, so obviously this is a C8 style, like a carbine, a short 5.56 rifle. It's got the undermounted grenade launcher, which I think is an M204. I can't remember exactly. That's the trigger for it right there. This, I don't know what this is. This is a weird... That's a gas plug there. That's a carry hand. Oh, you know what this is? This is their version of a C9 or a squad automatic weapon. it either doesn't have the shoulder stock or it's folded up, and that's your belt canister there. It's obviously not a 200 round belt. It's probably a 50 or a 100 round belt, but that is a fully automatic machine gun belt fed. Interesting.
The Australian government announced the deployment of a Special Forces task group, including an SASR squadron, to participate in Operation Slipper against
SASR.
Al-Qaeda and the Taliban in Afghanistan. The SASR's primary role in Afghanistan involved reconnaissance and surveillance of Al-Qaeda and Taliban positions, activities, and capabilities, as well as some offensive operations.
Yeah, okay, that's reconnaissance.
The SASR initially operated in southern Afghanistan alongside U.S. Marines from Task Force 58, conducting long-range vehicle-mounted patrols around Kandahar and into the Helmand Valley. On February 16, 2002, Sergeant Andrew...
Okay, wow. We got a lot here. So, well, first of all, he's sitting up pretty high, which is making himself a target. That's a 50 caliber machine gun right there. He's carrying, so that's a radio antenna that you're looking at right there. And there's your handset for the radio right there. That is the Civi speaker. We used to do that, actually. Like, we would play music in the vehicle when we were driving around. Sometimes we'd actually even plug it into the inner vehicle comms so everyone will get it in the headsets. This looks like it's his personal web gear and his personal rifle sitting right there. But then this looks like a C6 style 7.62 automatic machine gun. So I think, I'm not sure by looking at this, but I think this is one of those like four-wheeler jobbies. We didn't have those when I was in, so they're good for getting around places quickly, but they are not stealthy. And reconnaissance, I mean, all of the reconnaissance I've ever been taught, except recce and force, which is basically just, I don't want to say it's an assault because it's not really an assault, but it's just going out with a group big enough that small units don't want to really attack, and then pulling back before you run into anything big enough to overrun you. But we didn't do that very often. Most of the time, it was just reconnaissance, and you just didn't want them to know you were there.
Russell was killed when his vehicle hit a landmine during an operation in the Helmand Valley. The SASR played a key role in Operation Anaconda in eastern Afghanistan in March 2002. SASR teams provided on-location operational intelligence and reconnaissance, and helped save 24 soldiers from the U.S. 75th Ranger Regiment after their helicopter was shot down. They provided sniper overwatch and guided precise airstrikes, resulting in up to 300 Al-Qaeda fighters being killed. SASR elements identified a potential escape route for the Al-Qaeda leadership and inserted a patrol to monitor it. They spotted a group of Al-Qaeda figures guarding a white-robed older man with a cane, believed to be either Osama bin Laden or his second-in-command, Ayman al-Zawahiri. An airstrike was called in, but there was doubt about its success.
Well, you think?
In August or September 2005, a Special Forces Task Group, SFTG, was deployed to Afghanistan's southern province of Uruzgan, consisting of elements from the SASR, RAR, Commando, the Incident Response Regiment, IRR, and logistics support personnel.
Okay, the way this guy is talking, he's kind of stilted. He's obviously reading off of a script, but it sounds like he's reading, I'll be honest, it sounds like he's reading off of like brochures or like a TONE, an Orbat chart, or historical documents or something. Like, the way he's talking is so dry. I'm thinking this is all publicly available stuff, and he's just grabbed it and he's reading it.
SFTG was withdrawn in September 2006 after a year of operations, being replaced by a reconstruction.
Well, that's a nice view, first of all. Just looking at this. So I think I'm seeing two different radios here. So this one here is generally on a VHF set. Like in Canada, it'd be a 77 set. I'm hoping those things are gone by now. And then this one looks like an HF antenna. It's folded down, but those are the things that are about 10 feet tall, and they're very rigid when they're not folded down. They kind of pull apart, and there's a bungee cord in the middle, and you flip them down. But when you flip them back up and insert the rod again, it becomes a rigid pole. And yeah, that looks like some sort of like a satellite or something antenna. I've never used this one, but I'm pretty sure I've used things very similar to that.
Task Force. In April 2007, a 300-strong Special Operations Task Group, SOTG, was redeployed to Afghanistan, including an SASR squadron, a commando company group, and an integral combat service support team. On January 16, 2009, Trooper Mark Donaldson was awarded the Victoria Cross for Australia for gallantry while serving with the SASR in Afghanistan.
Good for him.
On January 23, 2011, Corporal Ben Robert Smith received the Victoria Cross for neutralizing 2 machine gun positions during an operation.
Wow.
On March 26,
I'd love to know how he did that.
2013, Special Operations Command was awarded the Australian Army's first battle honor since the Vietnam War. Eastern Shah.
Since the Vietnam War, obviously we weren't in Vietnam. I think our last I was just looking at our battle honors the other day, and we've got Afghanistan now, so we got a battle honor for that. I think the last one before that was Korea, if I remember correctly.
Wali Khat for the outstanding performance of the SASR and 2nd Commando Regiment in Afghanistan from May to June 2010.
2nd Commando Regiment. So, yeah, sounds similar to Canada's Commando Regiment, or now the jump companies.
The majority of the SOTG was withdrawn from Afghanistan in late 2013, with some special forces remaining as part of a small Australian force in the country. SASR casualties in Afghanistan include 5 soldiers killed in action. On October 26, 2018, an SASR dog named Kuga was posthumously awarded the Dickin Medal for bravery during a patrol in the Kaz-Uruzgan district on August 26, 2011.
Ooh, very dramatic music.
The SASR has a strength of over 700 personnel and is based at Campbell Barracks.
Well, that's a battalion.
This battalion-sized element is known to consist of a regimental headquarters, 3 Sabre squadrons, an operational support squadron, a specialist support squadron, and a signals squadron.
Okay, so we were laid out very similarly. We had 3 rifle companies. Well, when I started, we had 3 rifle companies. Eventually, we stood up to 4 rifle companies. But then we had a combat support company. Our signals company was actually in the combat support company, though, so that was different. And then we had a non-combat support company. That would be maintenance, weapons techs, that kind of thing. And then there was a headquarters administration company also. Actually, maybe they were part of the same one. Yeah, I think they were part of the same one. Yeah, so I guess it would have been headquarters company? I don't know. I've been out 25 years.
2002, it was reported that 2 Sabre squadrons were designated as contingency squadrons to maintain the regiment's war-fighting capability, while the 3rd Sabre squadron was designated as the tactical assault group.
Okay, so that just sounds to me like they've got 1 company on duty and 2 companies on standby.
2015, the existence of a 4th Sabre Squadron was acknowledged, and in 2021, the seniority of the SASR commander was increased from lieutenant colonel to full colonel. The current organization of the Special Air Service Regiment is believed to consist of a regimental headquarters, along with 4 Sabre squadrons, including 1 squadron, 2 squadron, which was announced.
The only thing about this is, so I've never worked with these 4-wheelers, although I'm told that they have some of them at battalion now. But I've never ridden these. But we used them mostly for couriers, actually, runners. But the thing about these is they're loud. And I go back to reconnaissance wants to be stealthy.
To be disbanded in November 2020, 3 Squadron and 4 Squadron. In addition to these, there is a Specialist Support Squadron, an Operational Support Squadron, and the 152 Signal Squadron. Each Sabre Squadron has approximately 90 members and is divided into 3 troops: Water Troop, Free Fall Troop, and Vehicle Mounted Troop.
Okay, so that's a little different. So we had 3 rifle platoons in a rifle company, but every one of the rifle platoons were all trained in vehicle insertions, water insertions, or air assault insertions. So we didn't have one dedicated to each. We had 3 that could do it whatever was needed.
A troop consists of 4 patrols, each with 5 or 6 operators, commanded by a captain, while each...
So 20 to 24 people. Yeah, that's definitely more into a recce kind of a thing. 5 or 6 people. I mean, that's a big recce patrol. Our recce patrols were normally 3 or maybe 4 people.
Patrol is commanded by a sergeant. The SASR operates in patrols for surveillance operations and employs larger force elements for counterterrorism operations. Support personnel include signalers, mechanics, technicians, medical staff, storemen, drivers, caterers, and various specialists.
Caterers? Cooks? All of that is just necessary to support troops in the field.
The SASR also has a pool of Army Reserve personnel, comprising former regular Army members of the SASR or specialists. In 2020, following the release of the Brereton Report into War Crimes in Afghanistan, it was announced that 2 squadron would be struck from the Army's order of battle and that the regiment would re-raise a differently titled squadron over time.
Okay. So something similar happened in Canada back in the early to mid 90s. The Canadian Airborne Regiment, I've talked about this in another video. The Canadian Airborne Regiment got themselves into a lot of trouble in Africa, and they were disbanded. The same thing that happened to one of their companies. But what he just said was a differently titled unit was stood up. That's lip service. That doesn't fix the problem. What happens? You take away the name, and then the people who caused the problem split out and go back to whatever other units there are, and then you stand up a new one, and most, if not all, of those people come back together again under a new name. Hopefully, they would have fixed the problem. Like the problem is almost always a discipline problem. Hopefully they would have fixed that in the interim, but just giving them a new name after people have had time to forget, that's not good. Oh, the blurring of the face thing here I love. Our guys never blurred faces. Kind of silly, to be honest. Unless you're...
The SASR has high personnel standards, and the selection process is considered the most demanding of any entry test in the Australian Army. Members of the SASR are required to work in small teams for extended periods and often without support. They are especially selected for their ability to work in this environment.
Whoa, hold on, back that up.
Without support. They are specially selected for their ability.
I've never understood this. So if you look, he's got a rifle on, although he might be in NBC gear, if I look at that. Yeah, this is NBC gear, but still, they can't be more than 20 feet away from those targets. What is the point of being 20 feet away? You can't miss at 20 feet away from the... If you can miss at 20 feet away from the target, you do not deserve to be there.
Ability to work in this environment, rather than as individuals. Selection is open to all serving Australia.
Oh, that's cool. He just put a breaching charge on there. Generally made of det cord, possibly like 3 layers deep, or a small shaped charge designed to blow a square hole. in the door. Very cool.
Australian Defence Force personnel.
There you go.
Candidate
So this is another thing I've been seeing a lot of lately. He's got his arm way up on the barrel. I was always taught to bring your arm into what's called a muscle position to be as stable as possible. Cradle the weapon in there, and that way you are as stable as possible. Putting your arm out like this, it's a lot easier to wave around. Listen, if you are watching this and you know what in the training asks you to do that and why you would do that, let me know in the comments down below, because I'm interested.
Candidates must complete the Special Force Screen Test at the Special Forces Training Center, which tests their physical fitness and includes an interview. About 64% of applicants pass this test. Successful
64%.
candidates then continue on to the 21-day SAS selection course, which assesses their mental and physical strength, overall fitness, ability to remain calm in combat, and to work effectively in small teams. The course consists of 4 phases, with the first 2 mainly focused on physical and navigational exercises held at the Bindun Training Center.
Okay.
The 3rd and 4th phases are conducted in the Stirling Ranges with long pack marches in Phase 3 and small group exercises in Phase 4 with little or no sleep and food. Around 10 to 30% of candidates pass selection. These candidates
10 to 30%. Wow. So they are definitely riding these guys hard and looking for only the hardest people for this. I don't understand what the interview is for, because in most of our selection processes, the interview was kind of done informally by the section commanders over the course of a few months. They figured out who you were, by working with you. The interview, I don't know. I'm not sure how well an interview works in a military situation.
then progress onto the 16-month reinforcement cycle, during which they complete a range of courses, including weapons, basic patrolling, parachuting, combat survival, signaler/medic, heavy weapons, demolitions, method of entry, and urban combat.
Okay, so everything that he just said there sounds like a TQ4 course. Like literally everything. Basic patrolling, heavy weapons, signals, fighting in built-up areas or urban areas. Everything he said there sounds like a TQ4 course. And the 16-month, I'm guessing that just means you're on probation for 16 months. But it sounds like battalion life.
Before being posted to a Sabre squadron if successful and awarded their Sandy Beret. All members of the SASR are parachute qualified,
Sandy Beret too.
And each member of a patrol has at least one specialization, such as medic, signaler, explosive expert, or linguist. Counter-terrorist training includes close quarters battle,
That's a 9mm. 9mm submachine gun. Those things are just a spray and pray. You pull that trigger and like within a second and a half, that whole mag's gone.
QB, explosive entry, tubular assault, in vehicles such as buses, trains, and aircraft, and in high-rise buildings, as well as room and building clearance. The SASR maintains close links with special forces from the United States.
Not really the more specialized, like, buses or planes or things like that. We did a lot of room clearing, though, building clearing. We did some fast roping, more often rappelling, or even more often just air insertions.
New Zealand and Canada, regularly participating in joint exercises and individual personnel exchange programs. The regiment also regularly conducts exercises with and trains soldiers from Southeast Asian nations and participates in exercises with regional special forces.
We did too.
Since its formation,
not Southeast Asia,
the SASR has lost more men in training than in combat due to the nature of the training regime.
Ooh.
In 2014, the regiment celebrated its 50th anniversary. During this period, 48 soldiers have been killed during operations or in training accidents, while another 20 died in other circumstances. More than 200 have been wounded.
Usually that means vehicle accidents or they fell out of the second story of the shacks drunk. Yeah, I cannot see. That would suck. Doing those kinds of exercises in full NBC gear. Whew. All right. We're at a half an hour now, and I think we're far enough into this. I don't need to go into the history here. They look like a pretty switched on group of guys, although the guy who was doing this video was definitely a little dry. Definitely seemed like a reconnaissance focused battalion. And I like their focus on the small unit assaults and the specialized assaults. Most of that would be left up to the JTF2 or SASR in Canada. When we got sent in, a buddy of mine once told me a story where, to make a long story short, he had it out with an officer one time, and he looked at the guy and he said, "Sir, I'm infantry. When I get sent in, everybody dies." And that's really how it works. When my unit gets sent in, you were mostly looking to get everybody dead. So slightly different focus there, but definitely look like a good group of guys. And apparently they're training with Canada now. So right on. Cool. All right, well, that's going to be it for Canadian Soldier Reacts to the Australian Special Air Service Regiment. Please leave a like on the video, comment. Love to hear your comments. Love talking to you guys. I try to answer as much of them as I can. If you've got a video that you would like me to react to, please leave it down below. I will see what I can do. Please subscribe, tell your friends about me, because it really does help grow the channel. So, thanks, guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.